The neon signs of Starlight Station flickered like dying stars as Tavian navigated the crowded marketplace. He was a human trader with silver-streaked hair and tired eyes that had seen too many worlds. His reputation preceded him. Fair deals, sharp mind, and a heart that sometimes got in the way of profit. The decontamination chamber, where he discovered her, was dimly lit and smelled of industrial cleaners. She stood beneath a rusted showerhead. Her skin, the color of twilight sapphire, covered in dust and ash from what must have been weeks of travel. Her crystalline eyes glowed faintly as she scrubbed away the grime, unaware anyone was watching. When she noticed him, she froze, her wings, delicate membranous structures, folding against her back defensively. "The shower fee is 5 credits, Tavian said, his voice carefully neutral. He'd seen enough desperate refugees to recognize one. Her travel cloak was tattered, her belongings non-existent. "Unless you don't have it." Zalora's chin lifted defiantly. She was a scientist from the Krell Collective, once celebrated for her research in quantum mechanics. Now she was a fugitive from her own people, though Tavian didn't know that yet. "I have no currency, human. But I have knowledge. Perhaps we could negotiate?" He should have walked away. His profit margins were already thin. Instead, he paid the fee and watched her emerge from the shower, like some mythical creature being reborn. Her scaled skin caught the light differently when clean, revealing patterns of deeper blue and silver. Water droplets clung to her wings, and she shook them dry with an unconscious grace that made his chest tighten unexpectedly. "What kind of knowledge?" he asked, leaning against the wall. She turned to face him, wrapping a towel around her elegant frame. "I can calculate asteroid trajectories faster than any computer. I can identify rare minerals and their properties. I can repair damaged navigation systems. I survived alone for 3 months in the void, human. I am valuable." Tavian found himself smiling despite his better judgment. "Well, Zalora, if that's your name, maybe we should talk about employment terms. I have a ship, and it could use someone with your skills." What he didn't know was that Zalora was searching for something precious, something hidden somewhere in the vast expanse of space. And what she didn't know was that helping her would change both their lives in ways neither could predict. Their hands almost touched as he handed her clean clothes, and in that moment, the future tilted on its axis, moving towards something neither had anticipated. Tavian's ship, the Meridian, was a modest cargo vessel with character and creaks in all the important places. Zalora had been aboard for 3 weeks now, and they'd fallen into an easy rhythm that felt dangerously intimate. She worked in the communications bay while he piloted, and sometimes their fingers would brush when exchanging navigation charts. Sometimes they would linger. "We need supplies," Tavian announced one morning, bringing them to orbit around Velis Prime, a planet whose underbelly housed black markets and the desperate. He'd never brought anyone to these places before. Something about Zalora made him want to protect her, which was foolish, because she could probably destroy his ship with her intellect alone. The market sprawled beneath the planet's surface in caverns lit by bioluminescent fungi. Rovik found them there, a merchant rival who'd been trying to undercut Tavian's prices for years. Rovik's smile was all teeth and no warmth. "Tavian, you've acquired exotic cargo," Rovik purred, his gaze sliding over Zalora with a hunger that made Tavian's jaw tighten. "The rumors are true then. You're harboring a Krell." "She's crew," Tavian said flatly, stepping between them. Zalora placed a hand on Tavian's shoulder, and the touch sent electricity through him. "It's all right. I have nothing to hide. But her eyes betrayed her. Fear flickered there, ancient and deep. Later, in his quarters, she finally told him the truth. She'd been developing something, a biological catalyst that could restore reproduction to her species. For centuries, the Krell had been dying out, their population dwindling. But her research was deemed dangerous by the Elder Council. They feared it would upset their rigid caste system. They'd tried to erase her work and silence her. She'd barely escaped with a single vial of the catalyst, hidden in a secured pendant she wore against her heart. I need to reach the sanctuary of Kesol, she whispered as Tavian held her, feeling the delicate tremor of her wings against his chest. There's a hidden archive there, protected by my sister Nova. If I can combine my research with the ancient genetic maps stored there, I can save my people. Tavian kissed her forehead, then her temple, then found his way to her lips. The kiss was soft and profound, a promise formed without words. Then that's where we're going. Her hand curled in his hair as she deepened the kiss, her fear transforming into desperate connection. She needed to know she wasn't alone in this fight. Tavian pulled back slightly, looking into her luminous eyes. I'll always protect you, always. In the darkness of his quarters, with the stars wheeling silently outside the viewport, they held each other. Two creatures from different worlds finding unexpected home in each other's arms. Period. The moon of Kessel Minor was a tomb of ancient structures, their purposes lost to time. Zalora moved through the ruins, with Tavian close behind, their fingers intertwined whenever the path allowed it. The air tasted metallic and old. Nova, Zalora's sister, was supposed to meet them here at these coordinates, but the only thing they found was silence. Until the ground collapsed beneath them. They tumbled into a chamber so vast it took their breath away. Bioluminescent crystals awakened at their presence, illuminating walls covered in genetic sequences, star maps, and historical records. It was the true archive, preserved for millennia. Zalora released Tavian's hand and moved forward like a person in a trance, her wings spreading slightly with wonder. This is more than I ever dreamed, she breathed. But then Nova emerged from the shadows, and she was not alone. A neural collar glowed red around her neck. She'd been enslaved by the Krell Hunter class. Tears streamed down her beautiful face as she fought the control signals, her body moving against her will to block Zalora's path to the archives. "Run!" Nova screamed. "It's a trap! They followed me! They know you're here, Zalora!" Tavian pulled his plasma weapon, his heart in his throat. The hunters descended into the chamber like predators from a nightmare, their armor sleek and deadly. But Tavian stood in front of Zalora, and something in his stance made the lead hunter pause. "I will die before you take her," Tavian said, his voice steady as a planetary core. Zalora joined him, her hands glowing with the energy she could channel. Together they formed a barrier, human and alien standing as one. And it was that image, their solidarity, their love made manifest, that reached something in Nova. With a scream of defiance, she channeled her own energy against the neural collar, fighting the control with everything she had. The collar shattered. Nova collapsed, but as the hunters surged forward, she unleashed ancient defense protocols buried in the archive. The chamber exploded with light and electromagnetic force. In the chaos, Tavian grabbed Zalora and Nova, pulling them toward a hidden exit he'd spotted. They ran through corridors that seemed to shift and change. Nova guiding them through passages she'd learned as a child. Behind them, the Hunter-class commanders shouted orders. But the Archive's defenses were too strong, designed centuries ago to protect exactly this. Finally, they burst into the surface air, where Tavian's ship hung hidden among the jagged rock formations. As they climbed aboard, Zalora turned to Tavian and kissed him fiercely, her wings shimmering with golden light. Nova smiled through her exhaustion, seeing in that kiss the strength that might save them all. The nebula provided temporary shelter, its cosmic storms masking their vessel's signature from Krell sensors. But temporary was not safe, and they all knew it. Zalora worked frantically in the lab compartment, Nova assisting her, while Tavian managed the ship's systems and charted a course toward a place the Krell had never conquered. The outer darkness of known space. It was in the abandoned colony on Station Theta 7 where Kess found them. She was a bounty hunter, skilled, ruthless, and undeniably talented. The Krell had offered an astronomical price for Zalora's capture, and Kess never turned down such opportunities. But when she cornered Zalora in the hydroponic section of the station, something unexpected happened. "I'm sorry," Tavian said, stepping out from behind the plants where he'd been waiting. "But I can't let you take her." Kess studied him with dark, intelligent eyes. "You realize they'll hunt you forever? A human harboring a fugitive Krell? There's no safe port in this galaxy for either of you." "Then we'll find an unsafe one," Tavian replied. But it was Zalora who disarmed the situation, her hand on Tavian's arm and her gaze locked on Kess. "You're not a true believer in the Krell hierarchy, are you? I can see it in your eyes. You're hunting for survival, not ideology." Kess laughed bitterly. "Very perceptive. Yes, the Krell hierarchy shattered my life too. That's why I became independent. That's why I hunt for credits, not causes." Zalora stepped forward slowly, her wings folded carefully to appear non-threatening. "Help us. Help me complete the research, and I promise you, when my people rise again, they will rise differently, without the caste system that creates hunters from necessity and exiles from brilliance. You'll have a place of honor in a new world." Tavian watched as Kess lowered her weapon, watched as something vulnerable crossed the hunter's face. "You're asking me to believe in something better. I thought I stopped doing that years ago." "Believe in us," Tavian said, extending his hand. That night, as Tavian and Zalora lay entwined in their quarters, her scaled skin cool against his warmth, she whispered the fears she'd been carrying. "What if it's not enough? What if they destroy us before we can reach the sanctuary? What if—" He silenced her with a kiss, slow and tender. His hands traced the delicate pattern of her wings, and she trembled with sensation that transcended the physical. He kissed the hollow of her throat, the curve of her shoulder, murmuring promises against her skin. "We're going to make it," he said fiercely, "because I won't accept any other outcome, because you matter, Zalora. Your survival matters. Your dreams matter. You matter to me." She arched into his embrace, and they moved together, with the grace of two souls learning to dance in harmony. Afterward, they lay in the darkness of the observation deck, watching the nebula swirl around them. And for the first time since her exile, Zalora allowed herself to believe in hope. The sanctuary world of Kessel Prime rose before them like a jewel suspended in the void. Ancient structures covered in living vines spiraled toward crimson skies. The place hummed with power, the genetic repository of an entire civilization, dormant but waiting. Zalora stood on the bridge of the meridian, her hand trembling as Tavian guided the ship toward the landing coordinates. "Are you ready?" he asked, squeezing her hand. "No," she admitted, "but I don't think anyone ever is for something this monumental." Nova came to stand beside them, fully recovered from the neural collar's trauma. Kess monitored the weapon systems from her new position as tactical officer. They'd become an unlikely family, bound by shared struggle and common purpose. The landing was smooth. When the bay doors opened, Zalora descended first, her wings extended fully, catching the alien sunlight. A council of 12 Krell emerged from the sanctuary, their elder faces carved by centuries of experience. At their center stood an ancient female, her eyes pale as starlight. "Zalora, daughter of the collective," the elder spoke, her voice resonating with harmonics that made the very air vibrate. "You return with research that challenges everything we've built. You bring an outsider. You bring one of the hunter class seeking redemption. And you bring change." Zalora stepped forward, and Tavian followed, refusing to let her face this alone. "I bring the future," Zalora replied. "A future where my people survive not through control and hierarchy, but through understanding and genetic restoration. I bring hope." The elder's gaze shifted to Tavian, assessing him with an intelligence that seemed to measure his very soul. "And you, human, why do you stand with her?" Tavian's answer came without hesitation. "Because I love her. Because she's extraordinary. Because the future she's describing is worth fighting for." Whispers rippled through the council, but the elder smiled, a strange, beautiful expression. Love is a human concept, yet here it manifests across the biological boundaries of our species. Perhaps this is the catalyst we needed for true change. She turned to Zalora. "Show us your research. If it is sound, we will support its implementation. And you, Hunter Kess, the collective extends amnesty to you in exchange for your service in protecting our renewal." What followed was a convergence of worlds. Zalora's genetic catalyst, combined with the ancient genetic maps, began the process of restoring the Krell's reproductive capacity. Nova became the liaison between the old council and the new vision. Kess trained a new defense force based on cooperation rather than conquest. And Tavian remained, not as an outsider, but as an equal. His human perspective valued in shaping what the Krell collective would become. A year later, on the day the first generation of Krell, birthed through natural reproduction, took their first breath, Tavian and Zalora stood in the highest observation tower of the sanctuary. Her hand rested on the subtle curve of her own belly. They would be parents within months. The transformation had begun, not just genetically, but culturally, spiritually. "You paid for a shower," Zalora said softly, a note of wonder in her voice. That single act of kindness from a stranger changed everything. Tavian pulled her close, their differences no longer feeling like boundaries, but like bridges. "I paid the shower fee. I never anticipated the wealth I'd receive in return." He kissed her forehead, and she turned her luminous eyes toward the alien stars of a world that had learned to welcome change. Beneath them, Kessel Prime bloomed with new life, and two worlds that were never meant to intersect learned to write their story together. One day, one choice, one act of love at a time.